I
join
always I
and
always joined
that's
from
an
the browser, and for some reason it wasn't letting me this time.
Oh, I know that's happened to me so
So
many
I
times.
had to install the Zoom app on my computer, and I was like, gross.
Oh, crap. All right.
No.
Well, you're here and you got your ears on, so that's good. All right. I appreciate that. Okay, so when I started out, um, it was called desktop publishing because in the past, like publishing something was a very elaborate process. Um, you had to use typewriters to type up your story, then you had to ship that text off to a typesetter who would run it through this gigantic machine that would spit out columns of text, and then you would take that and then you would run it through the sticky wax machine, and then you would lay out on, you had these spreads, these big giant sheets with like a grid of the whatever size you were designing, and then you would paste those down, and if you wanted a rule line, like a thin line, there were these spools of tape that we would use. So depending on, you wanted a like 0.5, like a 0.25, a point line, or a 0.5 or something like that, you would take this tape and then you would pull it apart and then you would cut it and then you would place it down on the, I mean, it was very elaborate. But then desktop publishing came out and laser printers were invented, um, which changed everything. Like, before laser printers, everything you printed was just dot matrix. It just looked like a bunch of dots that were grouped together to make things look like characters, but they were really crappy to read. So this all came about when I was like late in high school and graduating, and so they called it desktop publishing because you could actually publish something from your desktop. Like you could actually sit down and design something and print it. I love the cat. Okay. Um, you could actually sit down and design something and print it out, and it was like published, and you could give it to a printer and they would photograph it and print it. So I'm just trying to give you some back history. I don't know if this is interesting to you, but I think it's kind of cool to know the history of the medium that you're studying. So, when I first started out, we were using a program called Aldus PageMaker. And then that kind of gave way to this program called Quark, okay, layout program. And for many years, Quark was it. Like everyone worked in Quark. This is like the 90s. And then I don't know exactly when Adobe finally said, no, this is our domain. Like we do graphics, like we control the industry. Why don't we have our own? I mean, they already had Illustrator, they already had Photoshop, and they're just like, why don't we have our own, layout program? So they created InDesign and it won. It's the killer app, it's the one. Um, some people say it's Some people, I don't know, some say it's the most important software that Adobe makes. I mean, I'm not saying that's true, but the idea being that it's where Illustrator and Photoshop and everything else comes together to create a document. So that's why we're ending the semester with this, because we're going to take everything we've learned from Photoshop and everything we've learned from Illustrator and bring all those pieces together and create beautiful documents. So what we're going to do tonight is sort of, I mean, there's a lot in InDesign. We're going to really kind of just jump into a document and just play with it. And I'm going to show you how to add text and how to add photos and how to set up a new document and things like that. And then in future classes, we'll go into more detail on how all those processes work, because it's pretty easy to get started, but there's also a lot of details behind the scene, and a lot you kind of need to know as you're preparing your documents for a printer. Not to say that InDesign is only for print. Plenty of people use it for, they call it web. Okay, so if you open InDesign, it gives you an option to create a print or a web document. It's kind of a misnomer because InDesign doesn't really make web pages. They don't make code, but they give you the option of designing something that's specifically supposed to be viewed on a screen versus printed out on a printer. That's what they mean by web. It should probably be called something else. They call it web. I would argue that they should just call it screen or something like that. But, you know,
Or
and there's an
digital.
option for mobile, which is basically the same thing as web. So,
Just
you
call
know,
it
it's
digital.
digital. Okay, digital, sure. Yeah. I'm going to, I posted a ton of files in Canvas. So, I mean, you're welcome to download them and follow along. But I am recording this, so you can always go back and, okay, let me share screen. So we're going to start. Okay, let me get my notes in order here. Okay, I'm going to start with the very basics. So once you open InDesign, you get to what they call the home screen, and it gives you, it shows you past projects you've worked on, so you can always open something that you've worked on recently, which is convenient. But you can also open a new file. So there's a new file button up here, and we can definitely do that. There are presets. Right now we're not seeing the menu that gives us the choice of, well, let's just click on new file. Okay, let's click on new file and see what we get. So here we have this new file menu. And you can see here, there's print, web, and mobile. I mean, I don't know many people who use InDesign to prototype mobile app. There are, in my opinion, there are better solutions out there. If you're interested in prototyping interactive um, designs, like a mobile app or a website or something like that, Figma is you is probably the most popular one used in the industry. And you can go to figma.com and get a free educational license to use our product. I teach that in my web classes. So I don't know anyone who actually uses these mobile versions. I'm gonna go with print. I'm gonna go with print right now. And we have all these documents, I'm sorry, options on the side. So right now we see the width is 51p0. Okay, so if you're not familiar with a P stands for pica. This is a traditional unit of measurement in, I'm used to using it in newspapers and magazines. There are, oh, I'm blinking, six picas to an inch. So it's just a nice amount of space. Like when you're laying out a document and you have like columns of text and you want to have some sort of space, we call it a gutter in between columns of text, like a pica is a good amount, or the space between two photos. A pica is just a nice amount. But there's lots of different units of measurement that we can use here. So right now it's at picas, but we can change it to points. You're probably more familiar with points in terms of uh, type, right? Font sizes. Uh, so 12 points equals 1 pica. So we got points, we got picas, we got inches. We also have millimeters and centimeters. Secaros, I have no freaking idea what that is. And agates, no idea. No idea what those two units of measurement are. And then we can also switch over to pixels if we're working for the screen. I'm going to put in inches. Okay, so automatically it changes everything. So now this is a letter size paper, and which is 8.5 by 11. We can change the orientation. But right here is a really important feature that you need to pay attention to. Facing pages. Okay. So you need to, when you're setting up a new document, you need to ask yourself, is this the kind of document where there's like a left-hand side and a right-hand side, like a book or a magazine or a newspaper or something like that? If it's not, if you're just doing like a brochure or something, you want to make sure this box is not checked. But if you're doing a multi-page document where it's going to have a left and a right-hand side, you definitely want to have facing pages selected. There's also this option for primary text frame. This is mainly, it's not selected by default because it's mainly for a document like a book where you're going to be flowing a lot of text from one page to the other. So you want, and then we'll be talking about text frames in a bit, but you want those text frames already set up so that you can just automatically um, flow the text through them. You have a the option of creating columns. So by default, it's one column, but we can increase that to two. And then the gutter, I just mentioned earlier, but the gutter is the space, the white space between two objects. It might be a photo and of another photo, it might be text and more text. By default, it's 1/8 of an inch. We can increase that to 1/4 of an inch. And you can also just type in here. I can just say 1p. Oh, geez. And I hit return and it made the page for me. I did not mean to do that. But okay, let's, but you can see I just got what I asked for. We didn't talk about margins. That was the next thing in the dialog box, but well, let's just close that and do this again. New file, print letter, margins. So, and it automatically went back to picas. Okay, that's fine. We'll deal with picas. That's fine. Margins are just like nice guidelines to your page, especially if you're doing a multi-page document. Like you want the pages to be consistent in, the space on the top and the bottom and the right and the left. So you can specify the margins here. They don't show up in the layout when you finally export it. And there's nothing wrong with creating things outside of the margins. Like you can do that. That's perfectly fine. But like if you're, if it's a magazine or a book or something, like you might want, they can be very handy, is what I'm saying. There's a link icon right here that means it's automatically selected, which means that if I change one of these values, they're all going to change. Okay. But if I want just the top to be a little bit, taller, if I unlink it, then I can change just one of the values. And we'll talk about bleed and slug in another class. So yes, so you have this option of creating your document from scratch. And there's other presets. I mean, there's just 4 showing up here, but if I view all presets, like I get A5 and A4 and A3, which are all those are European document sizes, but they have like business card and compact disc. Really? Who uses that? Oh my God. But some hold on. Sometimes it's also really helpful to use a template, like if you're doing like a brochure that's going to fold into 3. There's lots of templates out there that are preset, that have the margins in them and the guidelines and everything. And there's a whole bunch of them here that Adobe provides. Some are better than others. Okay, some are very high quality, some are a little bit minimal. There's also other resources out there like creativepro.com resources, downloadables, except you can log in here and you can get all sorts of like packages of InDesign templates and ebooks and tutorials and things like that. So sometimes it's easier to start with something that's been constructed for you already. And that's actually what I have close. I have going on right here. Okay, so I've got this. It's not, it's like a template. It's incomplete. It doesn't have, it's got basically 3 panes to it, 3 panels, and it's waiting for more content. So basically, I'm gonna just give you a really rough, like, throw you into it kind of introduction to this. Um, there's not really many people who use InDesign just for photos. Like, there's almost always text involved. So InDesign is very good at handling text. That said, there are many ways to handle text in InDesign. So I've got this one page here with 3 panels. It's basically actually I think it's technically 3 pages. I don't know. It's a template. Um, so so if I wanted, we've got a text tool here. If I wanted to, I could click on that text tool. And unlike Illustrator, in Illustrator, you can grab the text tool and you can click and start typing. And that's called type, what's it called? Type on a point. Type on a point. InDesign requires text frames. So if I'm going to add some text here, I'm going to have to click and drag. And then as soon as I lift the cursor, the mouse, whatever, I get a blinking cursor. And then I can, you know, I can type something. Hi, GD 37. Okay, so that is one like really quick down and dirty way to add text to something. And I could always copy and paste text into this frame. But you can also, and a lot of times what you do want to do is bring text in from another document. So the thing you want to remember here is it really matters what element you have selected at the moment before you execute some sort of action like bringing in text. So I have a document. It's a Word document and it has some pre-formatted text. If I'm going to use this frame right here that already existed, that was already created. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, Place. And I'm going to go find, nope, that's not it. It's called intro.docx, which is a Word document, and it has formatting with it. I'm going to double click on that. And because I had my cursor already active in that frame that was there, it pasted it automatically. Now there are different ways to do that we will go over. But this is like right now I'm just giving you like a down and dirty, just like how to do this. This is giving me a warning that I'm missing fonts for this. I don't know what font. I'm going to replace it with something. So I clicked replace. And I'm going to click in here. I'm going to choose Montserrat. I'm going to hit tab to see if it actually works. And say done. That it's still highlighted in pink, and that does not look like Montserrat. So that is something I'm going to, it's giving me the option. See the parentheses right there? It's giving me the option of opening open type properties. Oh, open type properties are not applicable. Okay, we're going to ignore this for now. And because this is Montserrat and it's working, so I don't know why this is not, but I can try and change it in the paragraph, no, Montserrat. Yeah, Montserrat, did it work? No, it did not. I'll come back to that. Come back to that, but the rest of it is working. So we've got this font working, and we've got the body copy is working, and it looks great, and it's got really good leading. So the leading is the space between the lines of text. So this one has a little bit of extra leading as compared to what the default would be. Usually the default is like 12%. So like if your font was 10 points, the leading would be 12. This is an 11-point font, and the leading is set to 18, which I think looks really nice. I like the airiness of it. It's a very light font. And, we're dealing with a floral company here. I don't know if that was obvious, but this is a brochure for a florist. So I don't know. I think that looks really nice. So we'll fix that mission thing up there. So anyway, that's one of the easiest ways to add type to you got to create the frame first. This frame was already created. but you saw how I dragged a frame and typed into it, and that worked too. But in this case, I was able to add text that was pre-formatted, which saves you a lot of time if you have the option. If you have the option of doing that. Um, let's talk about adding artwork. Okay, I'm gonna for now, um, we don't really need this. Well, I can leave it. Um, adding artwork is you're using the same function, file, place, but there's different ways to do it. So this is where, like I said, it becomes really important to make sure before you um, place anything that you're very aware of what frames on the page are active, are selected at that point in time. So I just chose the selection tool, which should look familiar to you from Illustrator and Photoshop, the black arrow, right? Um, um, and I clicked outside of the artboard into what they call the paste board. Okay, so I clicked into the paste board to make sure that everything was deselected. There's also a shortcut for that. Select. No, there is like a deselect all option somewhere. I don't know where. I can't remember. There's a shortcut for it, but I always just, just click outside the artboard and it works fine. So now I'm going to go back to file and I'm going to bring in a logo. Okay, so I'm going to choose place. And I've got this right here, HP logos. I'm going to choose that. Okay, so now I have this cursor here that has like a thumbnail, like a preview of the image. And I highly suggest, okay, it's really tempting. It's really tempting to just go into some other graphics software and then copy and paste into InDesign. I highly encourage you not to do that. I can't get into, I mean, all the reasons why not. And like, it will just cause problems in the end. You want to officially place your artwork. So I have some options here. So notice the cursor changes depending on where I am on the board. So right here, I've got this like white arrow. And then right here, I have this black arrow. And then if I go up here, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a line of dots on the top and on the side. Okay. That's telling me that there are many different ways in which I can paste this artwork. So if I just click, it just, what is that? Okay, got it. It's just gonna take the whole thing and poop it out and just splat it all over the place, and it's gonna be at 100%, just way too large. It's not really what I want. So I'm gonna hit Command Undo, which is nice because it takes me right back to, what if I click inside See how I have a white arrow now? Click inside. No, that didn't work. It's supposed to skip door. We don't need that. Okay, what if I click and drag? I'm gonna click and drag a box. There we go. That gave me a lot more control in how I pasted the artwork. And now you can see there's these handles that kind of control the frame, and they also crop it, which you may or may not want to do. Usually not. I don't know. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But if you hold down Control and click and drag, then I don't think I held down Shift too. If you hold down Control and Shift, then the artwork will obey your resizing. Also, if I did something like that, okay, I constricted the size of the frame. It cut off some of the image. But if we look over here in our properties panel, don't ignore the properties panel. Okay, the properties panel has a lot of stuff in there that will help you control your document. And the nice thing about it is that it adjusts itself depending on what tool you're using at the moment. So there's this area down here called frame fitting. There's a whole bunch of options here, and this one says fill frame proportionally. Let's see what that does. Okay, that's not exactly what we're looking for. Let's say auto fit. No. Let's say fill frame proportionally. Ah, we were on the wrong axis. We wanted to be on the x-axis and not the y-axis. So that solved our problem with the cropping. But again, you can just hold Command and Shift and resize that way. I think that's the easiest way to go about it, is to hold down Command and Shift. Okay. Let's should we talk more about type or should we talk about images? That would be fun. Let's talk about images. So as you noted, I don't know if you did notice, but when I first opened this document, this image here, this frame here was a text frame, and it was just a rectangle. This frame here has an X through it. Okay. What that tells me is that that frame is meant for artwork. It's meant for photos. Now, these things are fudgeable, okay? You can turn an artwork frame into a text frame, and you can add photos to text frames, and you can swap things around, but there are separate tools for the separate types of uh artwork that you can add. So let's go ahead and Okay, we're gonna add a photo. So once again, we need to pay attention to what is selected on the page before we go through the process of placing anything. So in this case, this frame right here, um, this frame right here is where I want to put my photo. So if I make sure that this frame is selected, and then I go to File and Place, and I'm going to choose Making Bouquet, it goes right into the frame. If I didn't have that frame selected, the same thing would happen with the logo that I imported. I would have had this cursor with a thumbnail of the image, and then I would have had to click and draw or click and drag or do something like that. So so now that photo is filling that frame. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. And now maybe this photo is too big for the frame. I don't know. What is there more to the photo if I drag this out? Yes, there's a lot more to the photo. The thing is, if I just click and drag in here, I'm dragging the whole frame. I'm not actually adjusting the cropping or the scaling or anything like that. So I'm going to undo that. But you see this icon right here? It looks like a donut. If I click on that, I can go away. Okay. I can actually move, I'm losing image right here. So let's go back up. I can actually move around and move the image within the frame. I can bring it up so that the logo Hansel and Petal shows up a little bit better at the bottom with that darker background. I can make changes like that. And so there's a difference, and again, like if I click and drag like this, I'm cropping. But if I hold down Command, uh, Command Shift, sorry, Command Shift, it scales the image along with the change in size of the frame. So that's looking pretty good. Let's talk about this. Let's talk a little bit more. Let's go back to type. So we've got here like a kind of a headline, a heading. And then we look over in our properties panel. A lot of options here. And there's two sorts of tabs here. Paragraph styles and character styles. And we will get into this more in other lessons. But you can see not okay. I'm really not in the right setting right now. To show you exactly the differences, I would have to change my workspace. I'm just going to leave it for now, and we will return to that. Um, but I want to change some stuff about this typeface. I want it to be Montserrat. Okay. And then there are more options here. So under character, there's these three dots. If you click on that, you have more options. So I want this to be all caps. So there's a few different options here. You've got all caps, you've got small caps. Okay, about small caps. I don't recommend it. I think if you want small caps, you should choose a typeface that has a font in as a part of the font family that is specifically designed to be small caps. If you choose the small cap option, and I think there's one in Illustrator too, it's kind of a fake. The proportions are going to be off. Um, it just doesn't look quite right. And there are fonts out there that have a specific version of their typeface, a font, a font in the family that is designed to work really well as small cap, but it's there as an option. And then there's these other ones, drive through, underlines, subscript, superscript. So I'm going to choose all caps. Going to change the typeface to the size, to 28. Okay, I like that better. And then up here we have appearance, and it's got both fill and stroke. Right now we have no stroke, which is fine with me. I don't, this is a thin font. It doesn't make sense to give it a stroke. And I'm going to click on fill. Okay. So this is the equivalent to the swatches library that you've been accustomed to in Illustrator and Photoshop. And there are various colors already included here. And then there's one called paper. Okay, that is InDesign's way of saying white. Okay, because they assume you're printing on white paper. Because it really is a program that was designed for print. So I'm going to choose, and you can see that the other one, see how it says C equals 100, M equals 0, Y equals, and if you hover over them, it's giving us a CMYK value. So think back to the class where I went over color and color spaces and color modes, and we talked about how print is in CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And web and screen-based designs are in RGB. So this is automatically, because this is a print document, it's automatically going to be in CMYK. So I'm going to choose the brown, the brown that we've been using for the other typefaces, and then click outside, and going to just view that. And it's looking pretty good. Now notice down here, that's kind of funny looking, right? A bunch of gray bars. What is that? Who designed that? Well, actually, if you zoom in, it's just really small text. So this is a thing that layout programs became known to do because it was very like processor intensive to render very small type on a screen. So it's called Greeking. You see that? How it doesn't even try to render the text. It's called Greeking. Um, it's not as necessary these days as it used to be. We have much more powerful computers, they can handle it. So if it's happening a lot and you don't like it, guess what? You can turn it off. So if we go to File, or no, I'm sorry, InDesign Preferences, and we go to Display Performance, there is right here, Greek type below. Right now it says 7 point. I'm gonna change that to 2 point. I don't care. Render that text. Now it looks good. Now, and I'm not seeing any difference in performance on my computer. So, um, feel free to play around with that. Um, and then I'm gonna do one more thing to this piece. I don't want this logo here. That just seems to be like floating in the middle of nowhere for no reason. First I'm going to make it smaller. I'm gonna put it right here. But then I have to deal with the issue of it overlapping the text behind it or in front of it. I can't really tell. But that's okay because I have it selected and I can go up to Window, head down to Text Wrap. And there's different types of text wrap that you can choose. I'm going to choose the second one. And all of a sudden, we did this in Illustrator, hopefully you remember. All of a sudden, all the rest of the text sort of jumps away from it. And we have the logo just sort of standing out on its own. Okay. I don't need this box anymore. I'm going to get rid of it. This is looking pretty good to me, but I want to see, like, there's a lot of stuff on here that's kind of distracting. All of these guides and boxes and things like that. So we can switch back and forth in
I think just press W, I
yeah,
think,
you just
is the
press
shortcut.
W. I want to show you where it is in the menu, but it really is, you just press W. But where is it? Overprint preview? No. No. Okay, just press W. Everybody just press W. I mean, as long as you don't have a cursor in a text box, of course, obviously. But if I just press W, then it makes all of those guides go away and I can see the full, and
I found where it is. Hold on.
where is it?
If I annotate, what is this?
Annotate? What
Yeah,
is,
can you
what?
see my thing on
No,
Zoom?
no, I can't.
Ah,
Oh, annotate. Oh,
it's down here.
I've
It's
never
down here.
used that feature. Oh, that's so funny. Okay, look, everyone.
See, I'm
Janelle's
happy to show you.
annotating and she made a happy face.
I'm just gonna erase
Oh my
everything.
God, that is too funny.
But yeah, it's down
Okay.
there.
It's
So you can
is it this
manually
one
click
right
it.
here?
Yeah,
Or,
so that
oh,
it's
preview
the
or oh,
preview.
preview right
So
here.
if yeah, it should be
Yeah,
under
yeah,
that.
yeah. Good job. And the other thing that it did is that, like, I'm gonna hit W again. See that I have some spillover? Like these lines right here are the edges of my document,
The
but
bleed, if you will.
it's a bleed. That's right. Um, but my images actually go outside of that document, and that is because it is my intention for this is going to be a brochure. Is my intention for the the images to be printed from edge to edge, and this color right here, this gray area, is going to be printed edge to edge. The only way to do that is to print it slightly larger than your final size and then cut it down. And that's what's called a bleed. And I'll show you how to set that up at a future date. But yeah, like if we go, yeah, if we hit W again, it trims those edges and shows me what it's gonna look like. And I can still go in this mode and select things and make edits to them. And that's totally fine. Um, so it's just sometimes it's just nice to like switch back and forth, hit W a few times just for fun, and see what you got. See what there is. Okay, I've been talking for quite a while. Does anyone have any questions?
Oh, I could have used an arrow to point to it.
Yeah, there's an
See,
arrow.
it's right there. Arrow. Right there.
It's got your name on it.
Right there.
Oh my God. And I can
I'm
actually
pointing all
turn it
over the
off.
place.
I know, I see that.
You can't
Wow, that's
catch me.
you can also make whiteboards in Zoom. I've never done that.
There,
Like,
I can also heart stamp.
oh my God.
I'm just contaminating your screen.
I am just gonna make the mess of the next faculty meeting we have over Zoom.
You're like
Oh
annotating.
my God.
Oh,
I'm just
oh, I can change what color it is.
gonna
Ah,
have like puking emojis and stuff.
pink.
It's gonna be great.
I made a little heart.
That's awesome. Okay. All right. Um, wow, it's 7:30. I have like a whole another page of notes, but um I think I might hold off. I do want to go into exporting exporting these things. So um okay. So obviously you can go print it if you want. Go file print. Your print dialog box is going to look a little bit different than you're used to. It's because it's Adobe. Um,
Classic.
but most of the options are there. The only thing is that if you have a double-sided printer, you're not going to find those options in here. But there's this button down here that says printer. I don't have a printer set up, so nothing's going to happen if I press it, but it'll take you to your own printer driver settings. You can make changes there, save those. It'll go right back to this dialog box. And yeah, you can make changes there if you have fancy goings on like that. There's a marks and bleed option. So if you choose this, you will get trim marks. So you can say all printers marks, go crazy like that, or you could just say crop marks. And it's going to add like basically like up in these corners here, it's gonna add like little tick marks that are gonna tell the printer I mean, no, they're not telling the printer because you're actually printing it. I don't know why you would do this if you were planning on actually printing it and cutting it yourself. Okay. To
Or if
me,
you're sending it to a printing place that also cuts it.
but in that case, you would be sending them a PDF, so you would
Hmm.
do this process through the export PDF option. So, so we have a few different options here, but the most, eh, there's different ways to do it. You can export, you can save as, you can save a copy. They all work a little bit differently. But let's look at export. Okay. Oh, I forgot to go over something really important. Okay, very important here. Okay, in InDesign, okay, we imported an image, right? Okay, I don't actually know how large this image is or what, but InDesign does not actually embed the image into Janelle, stop it. Um, um, it doesn't actually embed the image into the document. What it does is it links it.
Which
So
is a nightmare.
yeah, it's really important to keep this in mind because then, if you've got your InDesign file in a folder and your images are in that folder, InDesign knows where to find those images. But if you take that InDesign file and you move it to another folder, guess what? You just broke your link. It's not going to know where to find. You can relink it, but you're going to have to do that manually. So, and you can sort of keep track of all this if you go to Windows and links. And here it's showing me if the Zoom crap will get out of the way, I could see it. It's showing me all of the different, so I've got the logos, um, this logo, this photo. It's showing me all of the images. Um, and there's options down here to, you can open up the link. You can relink it if you have it stored in like a creative cloud library. You can relink, so I could, you know, choose a different photo or update the link that it already has. So that's where export comes into play. Um, these Zoom controls are really annoying. I'm just gonna go to downloads. And well, this is okay. If you download a PDF, it will actually embed the images if it's a PDF. PDF stands for portable document format. Before PDFs, everything had to be packaged inside of folders with all of the images that were linked. Most of the times you want to choose print. There are interactive features in InDesign, so you can have like links, you can have video, you can have buttons. Like I said, InDesign is not, I don't think it's the best program for doing interactive stuff, but you can totally do it. EPUB, I have not used. I don't trust its HTML. HTML is the language you write web pages in, and I would not trust InDesign to write good HTML. And I mean, you can make a JPEG and a PNG, and XML, HTML, same thing, not same thing, but same, my opinion is the same. So we can export a print of it. And where are all my other options? Usually there's more options. I'm going to hit save. We're going to see what happens. I should get, yes, I was expecting this. Okay, so now we get to make some decisions about what kind of PDF we want. So smallest file size, high quality print. These ones here, PDF/X dash something something. These are settings that you would, if you're sending this to a commercial printer, you would want to talk to them about and ask them what they prefer. Press quality, I'm not actually totally sure on. I'm going to go with high quality print. And then here's where I would use like crop marks and bleed marks and things like that. And you can adjust, for your bleed. Right now it's at 0. If I say bleed marks, I'm gonna want something here, you know, 0.10 pica or something like that. Registration marks, color bars. I mean, you can choose everything and it just adds, let's just choose everything and see what we get. And in order to see what we get, what I like to do is click this box right here that says view PDF after exporting. Because I want to make sure I'm getting what I'm expecting to get. So this is just a handy way of, as soon as it saves a file, it's going to open it up in Acrobat for you. And you can see if you got all of your marks and whatnot. So and then we don't need any of this other stuff. Compression is fine. 52 pixels per inch. I mean, I'm sorry, 52. Where did I get that from? 300 is good. That's a good printing resolution. We've chosen high quality print. And then we'll export it and yeah. Okay, whatever. We're gonna just go with it. And there we go. That's what we've got. So we've got trim marks, bleed marks, we've got color bars. I honestly don't know exactly how useful those are. Registration marks. A lot of times in reality, you send your files to the printer. They have a department that can go in, and if your settings are off, they just fix it for you. I mean, in my experience, like I do my best to get the settings, the way they want them, but they have a pre-press department that can, if you if they want color bars and you didn't turn them on, they know how to go in and make that adjustment to make it happen. So this looks pretty good. I've got all my marks and um obviously it's not finished because it's only one half, of the document. We would need to make another half on the other side, but it's not bad. Not bad at all. All right. Any questions?
This isn't a question, more like a comment, because I know that one of my professors wants us to package things.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I
Yeah.
think the shortcut is Control Alt Shift P.
Control Alt Shift P,
I
which
believe it
is
is.
um
It's at the very bottom,
yeah, it's
the
packet.
bottom section,
Yeah.
packaging.
Um, it's a good thing to know. It's a good thing to know how to do it, especially if, no, honestly, yeah, no, it's a very good thing to know because if you're sharing this, like if you're working with another designer, or maybe your printer doesn't want a PDF, they want original files. You're gonna have to send them a package, because like I said, if those images are not in the same folder, you're gonna have broken links. It also packages up your fonts. So I just clicked on package and it's giving me some errors about my fonts. So I'm gonna have to go in to Adobe and um,
Scold it.
investigate what's going on with those fonts. But it looks like all the images and art are working, the colors. Okay, now this is nice because it's telling me colors and inks, and I can see that I only have cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So I haven't specified any spot colors like a Pantone color. Because if you uh any spot color you use. I remember I brought that Pantone book to class and I showed you guys, like how you can have specific inks in your document. Well, you send that off to a printer, you're gonna pay for every um plate that they press for each color. So doing this packaging process lets you check and say, okay, yeah, these are the only inks I'm using. I'm only paying for 4 colors. Okay, good. And then there's print settings, and I don't know about external plugins, but yeah, so packaging, yeah, so like if you're working with another designer and you need to pass off the files, or just for your own benefit of archiving your work, you always want to have stuff in the cloud. Don't keep everything on a hard drive. Don't do that. So, it can save space by just creating a package and then you can open it up later. So sharing, archiving, and for printers who want original, like native format files, packaging is good. So yeah, that's good. That's good. They're asking for that.
And
Uh,
once you package a file, you need to know how
and
to zip it so you
yeah,
can
the
send it
only
off.
thing only problem with that is that like a lot of email clients won't let you email zipped files anymore.
I have not experienced that yet.
No, they think it's gonna have a virus.
Um,
I mean, you get around that by putting it into a Google Drive and sending it off, it's not that big a deal. Not that big a deal, but uh yeah. Luckily Canvas still lets me use zip files, so that's nice. I appreciate that. Yeah. So, okay. All right. So we'll be doing more InDesign in the weeks to come. You're gonna have a final project, which is going to involve bringing all aspects of what we've learned into one document. So it's going to require some Illustrator work, it's going to require some Photoshop work, and you bring everything into um, InDesign and I mean, yeah, I spell it out very clearly, so it's nothing to worry about, and I'll give you plenty of time to work on it. So it's not huge. It's really not huge. Yeah. And as always, I take requests. So if there's something you want to learn that you've been trying to figure out, email me, text me, and then I'll include it in our next class for sure. I love the challenge. Okie dokie. So we're planning on meeting in person on Tuesday. We'll do more of this. Any questions? I'm going to Zoom. Wait, I am in Zoom. Wait, what's going on? Stopping sharing now. Stopping sharing. Oh, got a reminder to take out the receipt. Oh, it's been done. Okay. All right. All right. Oh, we got a stuffy.
He's my socially
Stuff.
anxious shark. Look at his face. He looks
Okay.
so anxious.
This totally reminds me of when my son was in preschool and the pandemic hit and they went to online learning and all kids did the whole time was go grab toys and show the other kids their toys in the camera.
Ideal learning scenario.
That's all they did. There's just like a bunch of kids or a cat or something. Like,
Ideal. That's
it
the
was
beauty of online learning.
pandemonium. I mean, they're 4-year-olds. Like, oh, geez. It was just,
He's a rescue. I bought him from a thrift store.
oh, we love that. Yeah, we
Look
have
at
a,
his face. He looks
he's,
like he has anxiety.
yeah, he doesn't look very happy, I have to say.
It's
Yeah.
okay. I've gotten him in therapy. He'll be fine
Okay.
soon.
Just let him cuddle up with the axolotl and you'll be fine. Yeah. Oh my God. Is that a
The
corgi? Is
hood comes off.
that a corgi dressed as a
A
pumpkin?
pumpkin.
Oh
Yes,
my
it is.
God.
And the pumpkin costume has little ear slots for his little ears.
They have to. Of
Yes.
course. My son was,
Huzzah.
I told you, right? My son was a hot dog for Halloween. That was
Incredible.
hilarious.
I don't know if you can tell, but I went to the thrift store recently and got new plushies.
Yeah. I didn't know that was the place to go. All right, now I do.
It's a
Okay,
seal.
you guys. Uh, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you on Tuesday, and we'll make some beautiful things.
Bye.
All right, right. Okay. Good night. Have a great weekend.